A very good evening and welcome to our next lessons of sadhana. We are calling it right now sadhana because right now neither it is Kriya Yoga nor it is Kundalini Yoga, nothing. Because when after a certain point a sadhak will find that if you don't merge yourself, if you don't merge into a real something, then you will always feel the lack. The lack is within yourself. Neither you will feel that containment within you, neither you will find the peace that you are looking forward. And at this point of time, the sadhak feels restless. So all the newcomers of the blog, please do subscribe. And who are coming new and is suddenly seeing this, the journey from dhyan, dharana, samadhi, I will advise see the full podcast. Rather, subscribe to the channel so that you become part of all the lessons that I am teaching you. All the lessons are translated to other languages in Hindi. You can have the English version. If you are seeing the Hindi version, you can also find the English translation to it. So right now, we have tried to make as simple as possible and as far-reached as possible. This is my seva to my Guru. So I am trying my level best and I sought your help with folded hands. Subscribe to me, support me and please be with me. Today, in the last episode, I have given you a path from dharana to dhyan. Now, when we are talking about dhyan, again, it is the frame of minds that I have explained you in the last episode. So in this episode, I'm not going in the status of the mind and I am taking it for granted that you have learnt your lessons. Over here, let's discuss first the problems that arises when you are in your subconscious frame of mind. First comes self-doubt. The second is doubt on your guru. Third, the doubt on the process itself. The fourth is doubt on each and everything that life is about. Your self-doubt starts getting bigger and bigger in the shape of an air balloon. That happens because once you are into the section of doubt, it said, I will try to explain it in the Vedic form, that you are being engulfed with Maya. She plays the tricks on your subconscious mind so that you means that the Jivatma is not liberated. Because a liberated soul will not fall for any of her plays. Now suppose I give you a very true example. You have 5 friends and you do everything together. From there, suddenly a friend tries to free up and goes for a better life. What will you people do? All the four of you. Though you will try to say that you want good, you want better for him, you are with him in his journey, but inside your mind, you will think, why is he alone? Our group is getting destroyed. Our group will miss him. No one wants to be missed. No one wants that something will be taken away from them. Same thing with Maya. She will never want to let you go. So what are her weapons? Your ego is her biggest weapon. Your ignorance is her second weapon. Your unfaithfulness, your laziness, your unthinkable manners of the thinkable patterns, the logical misrepresentations. What is there? You don't want to see it. You want to imagine something that is not there, that's true for you, but what there is in front of you, that's just in front of you, you will never try to acknowledge that. If you are at fault, you will always try to find out a way so that you are not considered to be in fault. So, these are the things that Maya does on you. Here, there is two ways how you can get rid of it. One is a very plain and simple thing. The other is a way of an endless fight. I always ask my disciples to choose the first one, and that's better. Maya, Mahamaya, she is the universal mother. You can never fight with her. Can you fight with your mom? No, you can't. So when you can't fight the mom who has given birth to you, just think, how can you fight the mom who has given birth to this whole universe? It's impossible. She is the mother of every creation. How can you fight her? Even Shiva can't. Vishnu can't. None of the trinities or the godheads was able to fight her, neither the demons. Not any evil forces. You might be any forceful person. The only way that you can take her towards you, not against you, is just surrender. A total self-surrender is the only way to get rid from her. Just bow down, fold your hands and say, Mother, I'm your son, I'm your daughter. I'm you and nothing else. I'm a part of you. I have come from you. So how can I be different from you? If I want to merge in you, how can you block my path? I want to know you. And I have each and every right to know my mother. I have each and every right to know where I came from. What's my actuality? When the sadhak prays in this form, you will see your continuous prayer, your persistence will slow her down. She will leave the path to salvation. That's the only way. There is no other way. If you try to fight her, she has got so many weapons. There can be so much. There can be so much things happening to you. So don't fight with her. It's never ever advisable. No guru in this planet will ask you to fight the Mahamaya. Because that cannot happen. That has never happened till now. So it's better not to go in that path. You are already out of your physical body and your mind. You are in the plane of your subconsciousness where you have huge powers yourself. You are just in front, in connection of your conscious mind. Because after that, when it turns to zero, the actual game starts. Until and unless you are on the superconscious level, nothing happens. Actually, whatever you're experiencing, the lights, the bubblings, the visions, the hearings, the drums, the instruments, blah, 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 blah. Those are so little of the whole thing that when you stand over there after it, you will laugh at yourself that I was such a stupid person that I was thinking just a rice, just one single rice as a whole food. Yes, the dreams that you see, the flickerings that you see, that these chakras are getting activated, what you think of, these are those one rice of the whole plate. These are nothing in front of what you are actual going to have, what experience you are going to gain. I have gained it. I have laughed on myself. That's why I am saying you that don't laugh. Don't make yourself a laughing stock. I have made it myself. Nowadays, I always laugh at myself that how stupid I was. When I used to say, see, I know what you are going to do. See, I already knew that this is going to happen. See, I knew that what the other person is saying. Buddy, those are games. Yes, those are just games. What you can think of, creating a havoc, creating a sea of trouble, or coming down an ongoing rain, a storm, a tornado. These are games. These are games to what you can achieve if you can go to the last stage, that is Samprajnata Samadhi, that is the total conscious ecstasy. At that point of time, you are consciousness itself. So at that point of time, when you will think of all these days, you will laugh at yourself. So it is better you learn from now only not to laugh at yourself and try to shun away all these things. I am seeing the flickering of light. I am seeing such and such person coming in front of me and saying so and so things. These are very petty things. These are Maya. The Maya will send so many of her forces. Even when she says, okay, you can have. Just think, you are asking for a PlayStation, or you are asking for something that is very expensive, and your mother, after long resistance, she says, okay, you may have it. Does she really gives it? No. Then also she tries to find out something or the other way so that she can ditch you this kind of a demand. Because she knows my kid is very naughty. If I give him that power, he might misuse it. He will not study if he gets a PlayStation before class 10. Everything has a time. Everything has a level. So when you have completed the pranayama of your conscious level, you are entering the dhyan stage. Now this particular transformation from dharana to dhyan and from dhyan to samadhi, this takes very fine lines. There are very fine line of differentiation in between. It is not even hairline. If I say you, there is a measurement. There is a measurement how you can measure it. It is said that there are 3 types of sadhanas. One is good, one is better, and the other is the best. In Sanskrit, we say one is Uttam, below it is the Madhya, and below that is the Manda. The worst or the bad or you can say the good form of sadhana. Then comes the better form of it. And the last is the best. Now, as per in the Ashtanga Yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga just takes you to your higher self. It doesn't explain what to do after going to the subconscious level. Because as I have said you, it's everything. Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga was with the same platform, same time plane of the Buddha and the Jain religions. So what the Vedic people were describing at that point of time was simply that the Buddhist people were also describing. In Vedic tradition, it is said that every knowledge is only meant to the person who is capable of handling that knowledge. Means power is only safe in those hands who can handle the power. Power given to a wrong source will turn to a Ravan. But power given in the hands of safe sources will turn you to Ram or Krishna, Shiv, Narayan. So this is what happens when power is in safe hands. Narayan knows how to handle the power he has in his hand. Mahadurga, she knows how to tackle her power. Her yogic power, she transforms them as per the need, as per the good of the better human society. You will have to understand at that point of time, the Godheads used to live just as we human are living over here. They turned themselves to Godheads by this sadhana that I am telling you. So when you can do the same sadhana, they have done it. They have turned themselves into Godheads. So you can do it. So can you turn yourself to Godheads. So in pranayam, what is a bad pranayam? What is a good pranayam? Let us see. We say Om. Now you are above mantras. You have already submerged into Gayatri. Now you are uttering Om. So when you are actually uttering Om, you are into that phase of the whole scenario where 12 times of Om, 12 times Om is the unit. So here, when 12 times of Om in one pranayam, the Anulom Bilom totally, it is the last, the month prana. The Madhya is 24 and 63 is the Uttam. So these are the units. So suppose how we count it is like when you start to do the chantings of your mala or something, the Guru will in the start will ask you to do once Om or thrice at the max. When you are into Gayatri, you are supposed to do 5 sets of Oms. And slowly you are supposed to perform 24 Om chantings while doing Gayatri itself. After that, you are asked to do 57 Oms. Until and unless you are completing your Gayatri Mahaseva, you are asked to chant 57 times of Oms. Not AUM, not something, Om, proper Om in your Anulom and Vilom sections. When you have completed, by the time you have already completed your Gayatri, you are ready to have 63 Oms in one sitting. Now what I explained to you, here is a word of caution. First, to all my disciples itself, don't ever try it until and unless you are ordered to do it by your Guru. I have given you the unit forms just for your understanding. I have not asked you to do it, because if you are doing it without a successful Guru with you, without the initiation of Om by your Guru will initiate you to Om. Most of my disciples, they are into the first or second level of their spiritual quest. There are two people only, two boys and one girl, who are into the third level. I am not calculating my son into this. Don't take him. There are two other people who are not into this. Let me be very frank into this. One is my nephew and one is my son. My son has even completed his Gayatri. He is standing in between completion of his Omkar. To be very frank and honest. And my nephew, he has completed his Gayatri. He is going to start his Om. He has not completed it. He is an householder. So he is not supposed to chant Oms before getting totally rid of his householder duties. Means you have your kids, you have your family, you are not supposed to chant Om. Om is for liberation. Om liberates you. Om will destroy your household structures. Om will destroy you, will finish you bit by bit into fragments. So don't do sadhana of Om until and unless your Guru instructs you. And please don't do Om sadhana by all such people, all those mushrooms, mushroom schools, mushroom structures, mushroom gurus. There's a very good name that I'm giving them. It's mushroom gurus. They themselves have not succeeded in their life. Look at their life. Look at their own life. You will understand why I am asking you not to do. Their kids are unsettled till death. They might have palatial affirmations, palatial bodies, even line of bodies. Look at their deaths. The person who used to have lands of Rolls Royce and other extravaganzas was poisoned. You will see the mushroom gurus having the same thing. And I am not wanting to pinpoint on anybody. I can pinpoint them. I have that liberty. That is also considered freedom of speech. If freedom of speech is there, then I can also say them. But I can prove where they are wrong. That is also there. So, let's come back to the dhyan. Now, when we are saying this, now the 12 times of Om creates one set of pranayama. The 12 times of Om will create one set of pranayama. Now, when I am saying this, there is a breakdown how you are inhaling, you are doing the kumbhak, and you are exhaling. Now, that set is on to Guru Parampara, and I will not say it. I will not teach it. It's better not to know it. If at this point of time I take the blinking of the eye as one unit, it is 12 such blinking or 12 such ohms will create one set of pranayam. 12 pranayam creates one dharana. And from 10 dharana to 20 to 24 to 63. Now, when one dharana is stabilized, one pratyahar starts. Clear? Not clear. I can understand. I am taking the blinking of the eye as one unit. Now, the blinking of the eye I am taking is as equivalent to saying or uttering of your one om. How it is, I will not show it online. You can come, you can stay with me, and you can learn it. Cost unto you, not unto me. So, 12 set of such om will create one pranayam. Okay? 12 pranayam equals one dharana. 10 set of dharana, or rather 10 sets of dharana will create 1 point set of dhyan. And 63 of this kind of dhyan will lead you to the first samadhi. Samadhi is interpreted to two broad differentiations. One is nirvikalpa, the other is savikalpa. On that, the savikalpa samadhi, or the ecstasy of the seed or form. You are seeing the form, you are doing the samadhi. That is again the set of pranayam that I said you. It is the identification of oneness. You are becoming your object. If you are doing the pranayam on om, or you are doing it on your own ishta, you are becoming him or her. You are doing it on your guru. You are prostrating yourself in front of the guru. You are surrendering yourself to him or her. It's the highest form of realization. It's the highest form of realization. Samadhi is obviously the highest form of realization. Because at that point of time, your mind starts to wear down, starts to break down. Yes, this again it breaks. And at this conscious level, now there is no subconsciousness level. Subconsciousness level or subconsciousness stays until and unless you are in dhyan. But when your dhyan has entered samadhi, there is no subconsciousness. There is nothing like dream or feeling of something. The first point is you will feel numbness. You will see that your body is numb. You can't move. You can't lift your arm. You can't lift even a finger. You will feel the bite of the mosquito, but you will not be able to hit it. You will not be able to save yourself from anything. You will find yourself in such a state where you are unable, you are understanding everything that is going on around you. You're understanding every word that is coming towards you like waves, like tides, like blow of a peaceful air. But it will not hurt you. It will not harm you. How that sadhak becomes from forefront is. Gita states, you will find a sambhav, means you are very stable at that point of time. Neither you are good to someone, neither you are bad to something. Neither something is good for you, neither something is bad for you. You are hurt or you are happy. You are static. It is not insaneness, but it is sane to the level of insaneness. Yes. Even these people are called madman. My son is often called. He is thinking now why I am always the topic of concern. Because most of the time this happens in our house. That's why I always make him an example. Because I cannot portray you myself as the example, because I am saying over here. So I need another example to show you. So he is my, case study. You can see same. He is my guinea pig, and he is just, he's just saying, yes, I can understand what you're saying. But you are making a me out of it. So in samadhi, as we say, the nirvikalpa samadhi, or it is without sin. Till now, you required a platform. In Sabikalpa Samadhi also you required a platform. You need a platform to stand up, to meditate upon, to make yourself collected upon. You need a guru, you need a object, you need anything, you need something. You need a thing. But when you are into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you don't need anything. You are into formless. Over here, I would like to say, yes, you can treat me Advaiti. There is a little fight going on at the backdrop of Mahakumbh, that which side I am in. Whether I am a Savikalpa person to fall in the Akhara plains, or I am a Nirvikalpa person to come into the Advait plane of the mushroom gurus, or I am something else. I am neither this, I am not that. I am it, I am it, I am it. I think I have answered to many people, if they can understand it. After the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that is the Satchidanand stage has gone, and in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the self dissolves. Over here, you are not man. After going to that level, we make a fun of this man, me. It's called me, 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 me. Who does me, me? And who does ma, 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 ma? I leave it to you people to understand. So over here, your self dissolves. Now there are certain people who say, myself has dissolved, but just try to take something from them and you will find their self. Just try to take what is very close to there. Even the pen they will go. If he gives you the pen that he uses on daily level, you will understand how much he is selfless. After that comes or hits the absolute reality. Yes, the reality, the state of zero. There is no ego. There is not me. There is a zero. Each and everything is null, dull, gone. You are not even the bubble. You are not there. You are in the stage of samadhi. And now the game begins. For beginners, I always say that it is safe and it is good to remain till this stage, till the state of absolute reality, because you need to understand yourself. Because the next stage, that is supraconscious ecstasy or asam prajnata samadhi, ya samprajanta samadhi, that is conscious ecstasy and supraconscious ecstasy. You don't need to learn this, because if you learn this, you are going to come back to me. One will obviously come back and will say, I have already seen this. My dear people, you have not seen this. The person who sees this cease to exist. My Guru, when he set his foot on that level, he ceased. He's nowhere. There, I have seen, when I was in Oma Parvat, I have seen many people, many shears, many sadhaks, who are under the conscious spell of ecstasy. I myself was there for 1.5 years. Only selected few do come back. Only selected few who are chosen to do some work, to do something that he wants to be done. Otherwise, there's a state of Satchit Anand, and Anand itself is divided into 8 forms of Anand. Anand is not one. So with this, I stop over here, because I don't want anyone to go beyond this position in an online segment. That will make me become another mushroom guru. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for you people also. Because you people will not be able to understand what it is or how things happen. So over here, I rest my words, and I will expect you to come back, seek my intervention, and learn beyond this segment. Samadhi itself ends, but sadhana continues. Keep tuned, stay with me, and perhaps we will come up something more detailed. But such explanations are really for those disciples, those students of this philosophy who are really wanting to make something out of themselves. So I invite such people to come and join me. Everyone knows how you can join us. And so with this, I take the liberty to leave you to Mahamaya and her press. I complete and conclude the English segment of our lectures with this episode, and I wish you all the best in your endeavor in the quest of searching yourself. I'm always there to help you in any manner that I can. And Mr. Ramakrishna, who forced me into doing this, he is from Tamil Nadu, and he asked me to do the English version of this yoga, Kriya Yoga episode, and I hope he liked it. They are a group of 23 doctors, families from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and such sites who invited me to have this discussion. I hope you people enjoyed it, and I will try to come up in other versions. Mr. Ramesh, you came up to my house. I again invite you in the next summer. I will hope that you people will be able to make it this time. Last time, there were some problems and the 23 couples didn't come up to my house. But this year, I will be waiting for you people. And I will be waiting for all those who are listening to me.